Hello and welcome back to our desert landscape composition. In this video, we are going to tackle all of our middle ground and our foreground, creating all of those mountain ranges as they get closer and closer to the viewer. And then in our next video, we will tackle all of the details, all the plants and things like that. In this lesson, we are really going to focus on creating all of our layers and then keeping track of them. Not only do we have to really realize which layer we're on, which is how you have it selected, but the order in which they are, so they appear in the correct order. We're going to be using the technical pen and the fill tool. We're also going to be using this color palette. Now I want to remind you, I'm controlling your color palette, not because I want you to do exactly what I'm doing, but because I want you to really learn how to use that color picker, because we're going to use that a lot moving forward. All right, so I know we're not being creative with our use of color right now, but this is all practice leading up to our choice pieces. Now to get started, we're going to go ahead and click on the plus sign to add a new layer. When I do that, it's going to add the layer right on top of the one that came before. In this case, I had this one highlighted here, my sky. And that's convenient. I want all of my new layers to be between my sky and my color palette here. Remember, you can move them around. So if I have this one selected and I want to move it, I can click and hold it and drag it around, and I can put it wherever I want. I can even click and hold and delete it if I wanted to. We want everything to be between those two. Okay? All right, so let's go get our tool. We're going to be using the technical pen, which is super familiar to us. We've used it before. We're going to make sure our opacity is all the way up to 100, and then we're going to check out our size, maybe around there. That's good to me. But we're going to change that color. We used black in our last composition for our silhouette. In this case, we're going to be using, if I zoom in, we're going to be using the orange for the mountain that's furthest away, then this blush rosy color, then this red, then the darker red, and this really dark color here. It's not black, it looks like black, but it's like a really dark red for the foreground, okay? Now, how do we get this orange into our puck? Well, we learned in our last video that if we click on the puck, we have access to this little eyedropper, which is called the color picker. But I want to show you somewhere else where you can find it that I think is more convenient for how I like to draw, which is in here. Do you see that little dot down at the bottom? If I click on that little dot, these icons pop up. We've talked about them before here and there, but do you see that same symbol, the little eyedropper? So if I click on that, it's going to bring up my color picker. And as you know, if I click and hold and drag it around, it's going to grab the color that it's over in the middle. So here you can see I have got those dark colors. I can even grab the white. We're going to grab that orange, and when I let go, it's going to jump right over here into our puck. Whoa, I drew on it already. If I pinch this shut, I'm going to turn off my color palette for now. And we're going to draw our first mountain range way up here. And then we're going to use a different color each time, and we're going to come down. As we come down our picture, it'll get closer to us. All right, so if you draw your mountain range, the first one, way down here, you're not going to have any space for that. Okay, it's going to feel weird, but trust me, we need a lot of that space. So look at this tiny little portion up top, right? That's all we need, just a hint of that yellow sky. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to turn my paper to the side, and I'm going to just draw that mountain. All right, this might take me a few tries. I might like the first one, who knows? I'm going to start from one side and make sure I go all the way to the other, and I'm just going to go for it. And I'm going to make sure that I'm sort of interacting more with that yellow. So I'm going to try that again, maybe down here. I'll try it again. I don't know, like make sure that you like it. Make sure that it is nice and jagged. I like that a lot more. All right. So then once you have the mountain that you like from one side to the other, you're going to come up here to the bucket tool. You're going to go to the first one, not the gradient, the very first one. And then you're going to tap down here and it's going to fill it up. Which looks pretty crazy, right? That whole area is now just bright orange. Do you see that little subtle glow? Isn't that beautiful? Now here's something that I noticed that I don't like. If I really zoom in on this edge, do you see that little highlight of like where your pen was before? I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I don't like it. If I click it again, it fills it in. All right, so for good luck, I call it, I always double tap my bucket. When I'm done, I'm gonna click the bucket off. And that's our first level of mountain. All right, so we're gonna repeat that process. Let me turn my color palette back on. We're gonna repeat that process all the way down our colors. So our next mountain range is gonna be this rosy color. And then we're gonna do the darker red, darker red, darker red, all the way down. As we get closer, well, each one of these is gonna be on a new layer. And as we get closer, they're gonna become less jagged. All right, so make that first mountain range pretty extreme. And then the second one can be a little extreme, but then after that, it's gonna get smoother and smoother because it's more like land you can walk on instead of mountain. So to move forward, I'm going to click on the plus sign to create a new layer. I want this layer to come between my mountains and my color palette. All right. And then I'm gonna do the same thing I did before. I'm going to color pick my next color. So I'm gonna come down here, click there, grab my color picker, put my crosshairs over this blush color that we used before, and then zoom out. And I'm gonna plan out my mountain a little bit. I'm gonna turn off my color palette because it bothers me. And then here's the trickiest part. If you make, we did this when we watercolored, if you make this mountain a mirror, let me try it. If you do this, it's gonna feel too controlled. Like that doesn't happen in real life, right? Mountains are more organic than that. It's really hard because our eye sees it and tries to copy it. So instead, I'm gonna start coming down maybe and then have it kind of go over some of it and then do something like that. I don't know. Maybe I don't like that. Maybe I want to try it again. That's okay. I do like that. Something like that. I don't know. Try it a few times until you really like it. Because this is something that is going to exist in the background, right? So it's important, but not that important, but it's, I don't know, it's important enough that it deserves your full attention. So maybe you want to do like that. That feels kind of nice. I don't know, maybe I'll try it again. Try it as many times as you need. That's better. That was weird there though. I think I like that. You know, again, do as many times as you need. Once you have your line in, grab that paint bucket and you're gonna fill up that whole bottom section. Again, double tap it for security of that edge. Now here's something else. Remember, always unclick that paint bucket. If you did something weird that you hate, like I don't like that dip. I think that's a little bizarre. So I'm gonna come in with my technical pen and I'm going to edit this, right? Fix it up the way I like it. Something like that is just fine for me right now. All right, I'm gonna turn my colors palette back on and then I'm going to add my next layer. Make sure it comes on top of the one that came before. And then in this layer, we're gonna use that next color down, this red color. Now these last three colors here are where we're going to be putting all of our plants, our cacti, okay? The darkest color, whoops, I did something. Our darkest color is going to be the one that's closest to us, and then we're going to have these be further back. So I'm gonna use my color picker, grab this color here. And then for this one, I don't want it to be so jagged. I want it to be a little bit less. So I'm gonna come in, maybe do like that. That's perfectly fine. Okay, so it's basically almost straight. It kind of tapers down. Remember, I'm on that new layer. When I'm happy, I'm gonna grab my bucket tool, fill this up, double tap, unclick the bucket. And I'm gonna repeat that 2 more times. New layer, choose my color picker, grab my color, and then on this side, I'm going to start over here maybe, and I'll do that way instead. These angled lines are really going to help create that sense of depth, so like I can feel like I can just walk back in there. Paint bucket tool, tap, tap, unclick paint bucket. Next layer, grab my eyedropper or my color picker, grab my darkest color, and then for this one I'm going to overlap a little. Maybe I'll do like this, have that come down. Paint bucket tool, tap, tap, unclick it, and that's it. So I have all of my colors here. I have all of my mountains. Isn't that beautiful? So that little bit of gradient, let me turn off my color palette. My little bit of gradient in the far background is really beautiful. We've got these mountain ranges. That's like another mountain before that one. And then we have these areas of land. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that process of creating all those different layers. In our next video, we are gonna add in all of our cacti, our different plants. We're gonna add maybe, well, one on each of these 3 bottom layers here, and we'll talk about that more in just a minute. All right, so this is where I want you to stop for now. Take a screenshot. Please submit that to me so I can see that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different layers, including the sky. Well, 7, including this one. Now, if you ran into a situation, watch this order. Here's something that I may put them in order, right? But if you accidentally put them out of order, if I take, well, let's take this first one, and if I put it behind this one, it will disappear. So it's peeking out a little bit there, right? So you need to make sure that they're in the correct order. So if you accidentally lose one here or there, just play around that way. Okay, so turn them all on, take a screenshot and submit that for me. And then in our next video, we will talk about our details. See you in a minute.